Hey yo people, it's your boy, I'm a Monster, and don't ask me why I'm sitting in my kitchen, I just am. I have no idea why, I just fancy sitting here and talking at you. But today we're going to be looking at something a little bit different, and I'm gonna quickly give a little shout out to Benny. It's Benny encouraged me to do this, and the more he encouraged me to do it, the more it seemed like a good idea, so here we are, I'm doing it. We are going to be looking at some completely invented factions that I would actually love to see come to XDefiant. Now, Benny said, please make this a series, and I can probably quote that from a Discord message, so if this is terrible, blame him. He subs to the channel, I know that. He's seen my videos, so he was fully aware of how terrible at all of this I actually am. But anyway, I do this in my spare time. I have fun. Any of you that follow me on Twitter and stuff know that I will randomly post graphic designy sort of stuff all the time. It's what I do for fun. So for a bit of fun, I've been making up these like fake XDefiant factions and putting them onto the faction screen. And the first one I did was Hyperscape. And that's with good reason. I genuinely loved Hyperscape, and I think it would almost be a travesty for it not to come to XDefiant at some point. Like, XDefiant is the perfect platform to keep these old franchises that aren't being used anymore alive, and Hyperscape just fits in. Before we dive right into it, for those of you that don't know what Hyperscape was and you weren't around for the maybe like year and a bit that it was actually active and playable, Hyperscape is a battle royale that Ubisoft made a few years ago. They were jumping on the Battle Royale bandwagon. Apex had just shadow dropped and seen massive success, so Ubisoft tried to do the same thing. And to their credit, Hyperscape had wicked mechanics. It had a really, really cool aesthetic. It was like set in this digital sort of like arena world, and it was all based around being like a competitive game and like a worldwide phenomenon of a show. And it was really cool. And they had lore and everything. I even put money into this game, which, if you know me, I'm pretty hard to get money out of. So the fact that I spent real money on this game, it's pretty crazy actually. And honestly, I love the character designs and the aesthetic of Hyperscape. It's influenced quite a few things I do, like when I do the dead drop skins. I've made one that's inspired by Hyperscape because I loved it so much in Hyperscape. I thought it needs to live on. And then XDefiant comes up, which is literally an amalgamation of all of Ubisoft's franchises. So why on earth wouldn't Hyperscape be involved? So what you're seeing on screen right here, that is the image that I created. This one, honestly, again, it wasn't made intentionally with the idea of this video, so it is just the one character. If I remember correctly, he's called Ace. I loved him to pieces. I thought he was super cool. His whole thing was that he was like a pro esports player from before Hyperscape, and that was what kind of got him into Hyperscape, is that his whole persona is that he's like this really cool and super good player. So I decided they should be called the Crown Rush, because that was like a big part of Hyperscape, was you were trying to get the crown at the end of the Battle Royale, and that's how you actually won. Their like team kind of descriptor is their esports players. And as I said, I only have the one guy on there because I didn't expect this to go any further than being a fun little post. And then I designed the little logo down the bottom and called them the Crown Rush. And yeah, the logo is just their crown icon, but inside of a circle, because the logo that I was replacing underneath it had a circle. And I was like, that's an easy way to make that look okay. So that's what I did. Now, for anyone who wants to shit on this image and be like, oh, that's terrible, you have full rights to. It's entirely up to you. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I did it for a bit of fun. But just to appreciate it, it started as the echelon screen. So it was black and yellow with like 3 large characters going across it. So before you shit on it, at least please just appreciate how well it kind of came out and like how much work it took just to get those guys gone. And thank God that I did it in a way where I have the background separate, otherwise I have to do that every single time. So the whole idea behind this team is they would be kind of like embodying that Hyperscape vibe. The game was very fast. It was supposed to be like constant fights, constant adrenaline. You're rushing for this crown, and it is kind of like everything had to be done like to the max. So jumping went to the max, the abilities went to the max, the weapons were a little bit wacky, and people were fast and sliding and jumping and climbing, and and all this kind of stuff. Like you were sprinting all over roofs and like jumping from building to building and turning into a giant ball and bouncing away and grappling on stuff. It was like a nutty battle royale, and honestly, please look it up and just look at it if you have never seen it before, because it really was an awesome game. And I feel like the more people that kind of look at it and realize that it was awesome, the better chance we have of this actually happening one day, and maybe even trying to get Ubisoft to take another jab at it and like reviving Hyperscape to some degree. That's never gonna happen, but anyway. So I've got my notes here. I'm just gonna play some stock footage that Ubisoft have provided to all of their partners of XDefiant gameplay. So it might not be the best, but I hope you enjoy it anyway, because you don't want to just look at my face reading off a bunch of notes. These were made after the fact. These weren't, again, this wasn't made with this video in mind, so these have been made afterwards, and I'm going to want people's opinions on them, because if this is going to become a series, I need to understand what people think is good and what people think is bad. So, for the Crown Rush's passive, I decided something called Score Rush, okay? And at first I was like, this is going to be too OP, it wouldn't work, but I could not think of something that matched these like esports players. Like, these guys are born competitors, like this is what they do. So Score Rush, you get 1.5 times score, and you take 2 times damage when you are the only player scoring or you are top of your team. So what that means is, when the Crown Rush player is the only player on like an objective, they are scoring 1.5 times points, but they take 2 times damage. So it's kind of like if you're last man standing, you're racking up points real quick, but you're going to take twice as much damage, so you're going to be down real quick. The whole top of the team thing is just for, you know, when you play like team deathmatch and it's not possible to like be on a point. It's for them. So if you're top of your team, you're fragging like crazy and you're like owning everyone, you're going to get that 1.5 times boost, but you're going to take double damage, and then that's going to knock you down, and you're going to work up to it again. Active 1, I call it Digital Wall, which is just a massive glitching impenetrable wall. It's impenetrable on both sides, it's like a little bit thicker. It's literally just like a digital wall that comes up for a little while. I didn't decide on time. I don't know if you guys would want it to go that in depth, but I decided it should be like a wall, because that is a thing in Hyperscape. They have these giant walls you could erect, and so it's to make it different to the Phantom's ability, it's impenetrable. You can't see through it, you can't shoot through it from either side. It's just like a block off thing. So I thought that was kind of cool. I also do understand that could be kind of OP on certain maps, because you could block off one whole entrance and just camp another entrance. Active 2, really simple, it's a double jump. So for those maps that have like walls that are just about too tall for you to clamber over, this would be for that sort of thing. It's more of a movement thing, because again, these guys are supposed to come from Hyperscape, and Hyperscape was a very movement forward game. So it's just like a one-time use, like recharge double jump, gives you a little bit extra height, lets you jump over some walls and stuff and get the low down. So if you've got like some of the maps that have those very intricate wall systems, if you've got one of those, you can sort of like hop straight over the wall and get the jump on some people. Now, their ultimate I call Hyperdrive, and it is increased slide and sprint speed as well as a higher jump. So the jump wouldn't be quite the same as double jump. Like double jump is literally like bounce, and you're like over pretty much anything that you can physically jump over. This is just like a slightly higher jump. So, you know, when you're caught in those moments where, you know, we all do it, you jump and you spin because you're trying to get around someone, and it's just to amp up the movement as much as possible. So the whole ult is supposed to be around Hyperscape and its movement, and these guys would be going a little bit crazy on the movement. So they're going a little bit faster, they're sliding faster, they're jumping a little bit higher. It's just like almost think of it as like they've gone into the zone. Like they've gotten into the zone and they're like playing at their peak performance, and that would be their ultimate. So it's nothing like crazy, but it just makes them like a harder target to hit because they're moving that a little bit faster. And that's the whole idea, just to make them like that speedy little esports player that's just gonna bomb through the zone, trying to get to that score point so that they can just crank up that 1.5 times score and try and nudge yourselves over the winning line. And that's everything I've got for you today. I do already have another faction that has been, you know, I made it as just a fun post. And then Benny brought up again, hey, you should do this. So now I'm doing it. And I do have it ready to go. I'm going to have to think about the abilities and stuff, because I haven't made those. And also the next one is a little bit close to another faction that already exists. In fact, it's very similar. So I'm going to have to turn on the old noggin to try and think of something unique to make it even worthwhile having. And yeah, so let me know, what do you think of this faction? Do you think Hyperscape should come to XDefiant? Would you like that? And let me know if should I carry on doing this? Because I mean, I enjoy thinking about this sort of stuff. I love making up my own lore and making up my own things. It's like my one little creative outlet. So yeah, just let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, I would really appreciate a sub, maybe a like, yeah, a comment always helps. I am going to be doing more XDefiant. I'm trying to do more XDefiant. I have an XDefiant partner, so I really need to try and get it going. And I've been a little bit absent up to this point, but XDefiant is a good chance for me to get my YouTube on track and start really making videos and cranking up the volume a little bit. So appreciate you all. See you all later. Hope you enjoyed the video.